Halloween is here. What other ways can we celebrate it other than doing trick or treat? Horror games. Yes, they're the perfect excuse to scare yourself senseless in the comfort of your own room. Today, we're diving into 5 of the scariest moments in horror gaming history. These aren't just jump scares, they're experiences that will leave you questioning your own sanity. So grab your flashlight and hold your breath because this isn't for the faint of heart. Let's get started. For years, developers have been pushing the boundaries of fear in gaming, crafting everything from eerie atmospheres to heart-stopping jumps. And our first game has the iconic moment that captured this very well. Picture this. You're in a dimly lit, flooded room. The silence is heavy, broken only by the sound of water sloshing as you wade through it. But then, suddenly there's movement, footsteps, and yet nothing visible. The sheer dread of knowing something is there, hunting you while you cannot even see it. That's next level horror. The only way to survive is to leap from debris to debris, praying you won't splash too loudly and draw the creature's attention. Every jump is a race against your own heartbeat, as the creature gets closer with each misstep. What makes this moment truly terrifying is the feeling of vulnerability. You can't fight, you can only run or hide. And it taps into that primal fear of being pursued by something you can't even understand. The lurker's relentless pursuit and the eerie sound of splashing water get under your skin in a way few horror moments do. When Amnesia was released in 2010 by Frictional Games, it introduced a new type of horror, a psychological horror that preyed on the unknown. The developers drew inspiration from Lovecraftian horror, focusing on things unseen and the terror of the mind. The game's focus on helplessness and environmental scares made it a pioneer of its genre, inspiring later titles like Outlast and Layers of Fear. It also was highly praised by content creators back in the day and established the image of horror games as one entertaining form of media. Enter Chris Walker, the ex-military brute with a disturbing fixation on cleansing the asylum. The guy is huge, menacing, and always one step behind you, creating one of the most heart-pounding chase sequences in horror gaming. You're hiding in lockers, barely daring to breathe as he searches for you. And he's smart. He even starts opening the lockers, giving you that dreadful moment of thinking, is he going to find me? You're crouched in the darkness, eyes glued to the door. Walker's footsteps thud louder with each second, and he's checking every hiding spot. It's a nerve-wracking game of hide and seek, except the stakes are much, much higher. What makes Chris Walker terrifying isn't just his size or strength. It's his relentless intelligence. Unlike most enemies, he actively hunts you, making you feel like no place is truly safe. The dread and anticipation of being caught by him keep you tense through every step of the game. Developed by Red Barrels in 2013, Outlast thrusts players into the role of an investigative journalist trapped in an abandoned asylum. The developers were inspired by real-world psychological horror films, like Session 9 and Jacob's Ladder, and by the horror game that we mentioned earlier, Amnesia. crafting a story that would make players feel completely powerless. They ditched weapons entirely, leaving players with only a camcorder and their instincts to survive.
Thought you'd just slip out before dinner was done?
So here's our next scene. You're in the Baker mansion, wandering cautiously, only to hear a voice taunting you. Suddenly, Jack smashes through a wall like a maniacal version of the Kool-Aid Man. It's terrifying because he won't stop, and he's right on you. Each time you think you've lost him, he's back, taunting you and smashing his way to your sense of safety. And this cycle keeps going on. Jack's first chase is all about the mad dash. He smashes through walls, defying every rule of safe spaces in horror games. The narrow hallways add to the claustrophobia, and it's one of those run-for-your-life moments where you feel completely haunted. What makes Jack's first chase unforgettable is how it defies expectation. He breaks the rules of horror by attacking when you least expect it, smashing through walls as if they're made of paper. It creates a sense of vulnerability, leaving you thinking, if it can get me anywhere, am I truly safe? And the fact that this is a first-person perspective made it even more immersive as compared to the previous Resident Evil installments. And that immersive fear lingers, and it's exactly what Capcom wanted. Resident Evil 7 was Capcom's return to true horror after years of action-oriented sequels. Released in 2017, it marked a bold new direction by switching to a first-person perspective. This was Capcom's way of making players feel fully immersed in the horror. They took inspiration from Western horror films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Jack Baker was directly modeled on classic horror villains. Violent, unrelenting, and seemingly indestructible. When Pyramid Head first appears, he's almost more of an enigma than a monster. Silent, massive, and dragging that impossibly heavy blade, which embodies terror. The scariest part? He's just standing there, like he's waiting. And from that moment, you know he's not just some creature. He's something deeper, more personal. The encounter is brief, but it leaves a chilling impression that stays with you for the entire game. In this moment, you're locked in a room with him, nowhere to go, and he's simply standing there, as if savoring your fear. The heavy silence combined with his imposing presence is enough to leave you frozen in dread. Pyramid Head's terrifying nature comes from his symbolism. He's not just a creature, he's a haunting manifestation of James' past and guilt. Something that can't be killed or outrun. This layer of psychological horror combined with his unpredictable appearances makes him one of the most iconic and chilling figures in horror gaming. Konami's Silent Hill 2, released in 2001, is known for its psychological depth. The developers wanted players to confront disturbing themes of guilt, trauma, and punishment. Pyramid Head, in particular, was crafted to be a physical representation of these inner fears, a symbol of judgment that stalks the protagonist James Sunderland. Unfortunately, we never gotten a new Silent Hill release because Kojima decided to leave Konami. But on the good side of things, we got the Silent Hill 2 remake. So if you haven't experienced this yet, then now is the time to give it a try. And now for the final entry. You're dropped into a forest at night with a simple objective. Collect 8 pages. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. With each page you collect, Slenderman appears more frequently. And the music intensifies, creating a suffocating sense of dread. You're alone, defenseless, and every time you turn around, you risk seeing him. Motionless, staring, waiting. The forest is silent except for the increasing intensity of the music as you find each page. Slenderman doesn't move like the horror villains, he simply appears, looming, and with each glance, he's somehow closer. It's a game of endurance and restraint. What makes this encounter so terrifying is its simplicity. Slenderman doesn't chase or attack. He simply appears, reminding you that he's always there, watching. Every time you retrieve a page, a new eerie sound will begin, getting creepier every time you get a new page. Then the piano sound will bang once you see Slenderman, which amplifies the tension of the jump scare to the roof. It is effectively scary due to the fact that it's very dark and you can't see Slenderman at the beginning. Tension rises up and there's this one question that's growing creepily on your inner thoughts. Where is Slenderman? It creeps you out to the point that in order to release the tension, you subconsciously start looking for him, even though it's not part of the game's objective. It's so simple, but it maximizes the tension by giving you that feeling of discomfort. This minimalist horror setup even inspired a wave of imitators, but few could match the sheer anxiety of Slenderman's cold, unfeeling gaze. Finally, Slender, the 8 pages released in 2012. This indie game by Parsec Productions redefined horror by showing how less is often more. The game drew from the internet's popular creepypasta lore surrounding Slenderman, a tall, faceless figure who appears in the background of photos, stalking his victims until they lose their minds. So there you have it. That is 5 of some of the scariest moments in gaming history. If you enjoyed the list, make sure to hit that like button and share your favorite scary moments in the comments below. Who knows, maybe we'll feature one of your suggestions next time because, to be honest, there's a lot of games that I haven't talked about yet. I just pick up the 5 most iconic in my opinion, and of course, it's subjective, it could be different from yours. So that's it. Stay spooky, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Peace.